Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Shall we start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So today we will discuss about the constitutional provisions regarding Indian higher education. And the policy perspectives regarding Indian higher education system. So in the previous class we have discussed about the what is the aim of higher education and how the higher education is progressing after the independence of our country. So before proceeding to the constitutional provisions, we have to see about the arrangements of higher education in colonial period. Colonial period means the British period. So at that time, actually the modern education system began in India during British period. Before that, we have like this. If you will see the arrangement, then we have the Vedic period, then Buddhist period, then Islamic period, and then the British period. So in the from the British period, actually the modern education system began in India. The modernization of Indian civilization is said to have been facilitated by the British control. British came to India as traders but remain here for so many years. So they set up English medium schools through which they taught science and literature, and the Christian missionaries taught colonial education so that the Indians could be used for their clerical jobs. That things also we have discussed in the previous class. So what was the system of education during the British period? So, what was the control? How they were controlling the education system at that time? The highest or topmost manager who was managing the education system, he was the Governor General at Calcutta, and it manage and control the whole system of education in India. Then the Governor General in Council, which manage the education from lowest to higher level. Then the regional authority, which are in different provinces. Then directors of public instruction, which was known as DPI, which sees the lower level education. And then the viceroy and governor general, who are responsible for, actually it is not in the down arrow, it is in the side arrow, you can consider it. The viceroy and governor general, they were looking after the university and undergraduate education. The modern education system, which was began from the British period, actually they have also tried to. They have also a great contribution to the Indian system. No doubt there is so many lacuna, but they have a different contribution also, which we can conclude it, or we can see from the 1882 Indian Education Commission and from the 1902 Indian University Commission. They appointed these two commissions to report on university. So they had a focus on university education also. After that, you can see the Sadler Commission was there, which was appointed in 1917 and 19 to inquire into the conditions and prospects of the University of Calcutta. So there were three universities at that time. One is at Calcutta, one is at Aligarh, and another is at Banaras. Although the recommendations of Calcutta University Commission, or that commission was called as the Sadler Commission, it did not introduce any significant change in the governance of the universities. It is instructive to recall that the Commission did suggest a large measure of autonomy to the teaching body of university and advocated mature responsiveness to the needs of the students served by them. So they appointed the commission to survey, but the survey report was instructive for the large measure of autonomy to the teaching body. So, autonomy to the teaching body was given after that commission. The teaching body was free, or it was an autonomous body to conduct the education. So, at the time of reporting, at that time, the Morley-Minter reform had been introduced. And in respect of education, this meant transfer of constitutional authority to manage education not only to the provinces but to Indian ministers. So they told that transfer some power to the Indian ministers. So according to the scheme, the provincial government exercised powers under two headings. So this is these two headings, as it is divided into two parts. So it is also called as education under diarchy. It is divided into two parts. One was reserved for the subjects under the jurisdiction of governor, which was the manager of the system, education system. So some part is kept under the his jurisdiction, and who was the provincial head of provincial government, and some power or some part is transferred to the Indian ministers, who are responsible for provincial legislature, which consisted of a large elected majority. So after that commission, Sadler Commission, that was the benefit for the Indians, that some part came to them, their control. And how they were coordinated, how there is a coordination between them. Once education became a provincial subject, and it occurs in 1921, the central government found that it had no mechanism to coordinate with the provinces. So it took two important steps to deal with the situation. These two important steps were to establish the Central Advisory Board of Education in 1921, and another one is to set up an inter-university board, which was in 1925. The first board, that is your Central Advisory Board of Education, had the Minister of Education from each state as its members. While on the inter-university board, each university was represented by its vice chancellor. This also exists now, the vice chancellor post. So it may be noted that both these bodies, means the central advisory body and the board of central advisory board of education and the inter-university board, what they do, they provided platform for ventilating views and tendering advice to the government. That was their function. They will tender advice to the government regarding what? Regarding the issues of higher education. Then, in respect of education, when the Act 1935, which was known as the Government of India Act, when it was in existence, at that time, it lead to a change, a significant change, some significant change, which are, you can say, this act was particularly important for that it put an end to the inherently defective system of diarchy. In the previous slide, what we have seen, the diarchy means education system is divided into two parts. One is some power existed with the governor and some power is transferred to the Indian minister. So it is said that this is a defective system. Diarchy system was a defective system. So what happened in 1935? It ended the system. That system, calling the system as a defective system, it ended that diarchy system, and for the first time, a constitutional distinction was made between the powers of the center and those of the provinces. So provinces, what will be the power of center and what will be the power of province? That was distinct at that time in 1935 Act. So two lists of subjects were drawn up in this act. One is enumerated as central powers and the another is enumerated as provincial power. So here there is a clear cut distinction. If you take the example, suppose one thing is there and you two are having the power to control that thing, so that will create a problem. That's why in the 1935 act work on this diarchy system and told that there will be the power will be divided. Some power will be exercised by the central government or the central powers, and some power will be exercised by the province, that is the provincial powers. So it was this model of division of powers between the center and state which was taken over in the constitution that free India gave to herself. So now also this system exists. Some part of education is in the center list and some are in the state list. So in the Indian constitution there is a central list and there is a state list, and the third list which shows the area in respect of which the center has concurrent powers, which means that in case a law is adopted by the center, it has to have precedence over the corresponding state law. So state has also the power. So if the state want to exercise the power on the central law, then it can exercise the power. For example, if you take the implementation of NEP, if the state will not want to implement some parts, so it can deny. It has the power on education, so it can exercise the power also. So, what are the different post independent developments and the constitutional provisions? So, after 1947, when India got independence, at that time, the 1935 Act model was not disturbed and education continued to be a state subject. However, a number of influential persons, including Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Azad, education minister, the then education minister, who felt that the center must have a say, particularly in respect of higher education. So Maulana Azad used a phrase which bears retelling. He said that while central control was not possible, central guidance must be ensured. He told that central must have some power on higher education. It may be with the state, education may be the state subject, but center must have the power or the guidance, otherwise it will be harmful for the nation. Then what happened? Due to this type of changes, there were the central provisions. The central provisions were divided in this manner. So the University Education Commission, which was appointed in 1948 under the chairmanship of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, it made an interim recommendation to the government wherein it suggested that education be made a concurrent subject. So, as they suggested to make education a concurrent subject, and this was a disagreement prior to this, so they told that this should be an interim recommendation. For the time being, this recommendation will exist. So the constitution was then under preparation, and proposal in regard to the constitutional position of education was in order. So this recommendation was not accepted by the constituent assemblies. So a compromise again worked out there. Compromise between whom? Between the between the constituent assembly and the center. So there came these things like a list one, two, three, like these lists came out. So a compromise worked out between them, and in the list one of the seventh schedule, where the powers of the center and state are listed. In the list one, they were stated clearly, and certain entries were inserted which gave far reaching power to the center. So these entries were the important entries, who are the entry 63, 64, 65, and 66. The entry 63, 64, 65 deal with various issues regarding higher education. Entry 63 concerned the control of institutions like your National Library, universities, like Banaras University or Central University, Aligarh University, and Delhi University. It will deal with all those concerns. And entry 64 deal with the institutions of scientific and technical education which may be financed wholly or in part by the government of India or declared by parliament to be institution of national importance. So this is the entry 64. And entry 65 uh, told the agencies and institution for professional, vocational, or technical training or scientific or technical institution could also be established in the center according to entry 65. So see the importance of these entries. And in case of the established institutions which are engaged in special kind of education programs, special kind of education program means which are recommended by the University Grant Commission, those programs the central government can declare them as deemed to be universities. So there are many examples at that time, and that they include the Indian Institute of Science at Bangalore and Gujarat Vidyapit. Like this, all these institutions were called as special institutions which are recommended to be established under entry 65. Then come to the entry 66. Entry 66 was special, or you can say like this, the coordination and determination of standards in institutions for higher education or research or scientific and technical institutions. This is entry 66. So what happened with this entry 66? The UGC Act of 1956 was passed as a consequence of, and in terms of this entry, due to this entry, the UGC Act was passed, and later in 1988, the All India Council of Technical Education, which is common generally called as AICT, was also established as a statutory body. In addition to UGC and the AICT, there are a number of other central coordinating bodies also which derive their mandate only from entry 66. Due to the entry 66, these organizations were established, and after some time they were converted into the statutory body, means they have the power to establish their own provisions and laws. So some of them may be listed as, you can say, the Medical Council of India, the Bar Council of India, the Nursing Council of India, Indian Council of Agricultural Research ICAR, the Pharmacy Council of India PCI, and Institute of Architects, Institute of Accountancy, etc. All these bodies were established due to the entry 66 in the list 1. Then next come the state provision. So similarly, in the state provision also, the entry 11 is important, like education including university subject to provision of entry 63, 64, 65 and 66 in list 1, and entry 25 of list 3. So that is entry 11. So entry 11, you can read this as education including universities subject to provision of entry 63, which was there in entry in those four entries, so that will be followed by the state also. So then how the relationship between center and state will be maintained? So the state relationship between the state and center, for this purpose, it was suggested that while the state budget in respect of non-plan expenditure are decided upon by the states, with regard to plan expenditure, the planning commission has a role to play. Incidentally, the planning commission, which is not a statutory body, was established in terms of entry 20 in the concurrent list. So there were some decisions taken to manage this system, the relationship between the center and state in respect of education is neither all that rational in its operation nor easy to manage. That's why another body came into existence, that is your planning commission. So planning commission was not a statutory body, but it was established in terms of entry 20. That entry 20 was economic and social planning. So under this heading, this planning commission came into existence in the concurrent list. So next came the question, these bodies were established, but how there will be coordination? What will be the coordinating mechanism at the center? So, of the mechanism at the center which have been helping the higher education sector, so at that time the coordinating mechanism should be there. One coordinating mechanism was considered to be as the University Grant Commission UGC, which has a statutory status and field operation confined to the universities, which deal with the colleges and faculties in general studies and other areas. And another body, that was the All India Council of Technical Education AICTE, which was given statutory status in 1988, and it deals with the engineering institute and colleges. And another body was there, which is Indian Council of Agricultural Research ICAR, which is still not non-statutory body in character, but deals with the agricultural universities. And the National Council on Teacher Education NCT, which was related to the teacher education. So each one of these bodies has been giving grants to universities and colleges in their related spheres. So when the National Policy of Education 1986 came, so it adopted, the Parliament had recommended the creation of a new body known as the Apex body to ensure the coordination among the different bodies. So when different bodies came into existence, like as you know, the UGC is the most famous and now also existing. So it has been originated at that time. UGC, AICT, ICAR, and NCT. These bodies were there, but it has been considered that if we have these bodies, so we should have a apex body to coordinate among these different bodies. Then University Grant Commissions or UGC. So a first attempt was made in India in 1944. University Education Commission was set up in 1948 under the chairmanship of Dr. Radhakrishnan to report on Indian university education and suggest improvement and extensions that might be desirable to suit the present and future need and aspiration of the country. With that purpose, 1948 University Education Commission was established because they need the improvement and extension. So it recommended that the University Grant Committee be reconstituted on the general model of University Grant Commission of the United Kingdom with a full-time chairman and other members to be appointed from amongst educationists of repute. So, what was there in the post independent India, what we have already discussed in the previous unit also, that university was established for only regulating the colleges and conducting examination. But after independence, when the University Commission came into existence in 1948, it has recommended that you constitute a university grant committee, and the model, which model need to be followed, you have to follow the University Grant Commission of United Kingdom with, you give a full-time chairman appointment and you give some educationist. The members need to be educationist. After that, in 1952, the Union government decided that all cases pertaining to the allocation of grant in aid from public funds to central universities and other universities and institutions of higher learning might be referred to the University Grant Commission. So that was their feeling that this grant in aid and all other system need to be allocated to the um, UGC. So what they did, they when they thought about this, so the University Grant Commission was formally again inaugurated. Though it was came into existence in idea in 1944, but it was again inaugurated by Sri Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, the then Minister of Education, on 28 December 1953. And at that time, in 28 December 1953, the Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru addressed the inaugural meet. The UGC was formally established only in November 1956 as a statutory body of the Government of India through the Act of Parliament. And this was meant for the coordination, determination, and maintenance of standards of university education in India. In order to ensure effective region wise coverage throughout the country, the UGC has decentralized its operations by setting up the regional centers. And these 6 regional centers were at Pune, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Bhopal, Guwahati, and Bangalore. Then what is the composition of UGC? The UGC comprises a chairperson, vice chairperson, and 10 other members appointed by the central government. The chairperson is selected from among persons who are not officers of the central or state government. There are other persons who will be selected as the chairperson, and of that 10 members, 2 represent the central government, specifically the ministers of human resource development and finance, and at least 4 members must be university teachers at the time of their selection, and other members or the rest of the members were the 4 to 6, then other members will be selected from the eminent educationists and experts in various other fields. So this will be the would be the composition of UGC. And what will be the funding of UGC? Who will fund UGC, or UGC will fund to whom? In order to execute its responsibility, the UGC receives both plan and non-plan grants from the central government. It allocates and disburses full maintenance and development grants to all central universities, colleges affiliated to the Delhi University, Banaras Hindu University, and some institutions that have been accorded the status of deemed to be university. The universities, colleges, and other institutions of higher education receive support only from plan grant for development scheme. UGC also provide financial assistance to universities and colleges under various schemes or programs for promoting quality, excellence, teaching and research. Then what would be the mandate of UGC? So the UGC has the unique distinction of being only the grant giving agency in the country. So it has mainly two responsibility. One is to provide funds, and another is the coordination, determination, and maintenance of standards of Institute of Higher Education. So it was working in two way. One is providing fund, and another is doing all these work like your coordination, determination, and maintenance of standard. So for this purpose, UGC's mandate include the things like promoting and coordinating university education, determining and maintaining standards of teaching, examination, and research in universities, framing regulations on minimum standards of education, monitoring development in the field of collegiate and university education, disbursing grants to the universities and colleges, serving as a vital link between union and state government and institution of higher learning, advising the central and state government on the measure necessary for improvement of university education. So these were included in the mandate of the UGC. Then in the meantime, what happened? After framing the UGC and assigning the role to UGC, some important deletions were made in our constitution also, like your in 1951, the draft 51 draft, there was a central council. That central council role where was undertaken by the UGC, and that central council was deleted, and without approval of central, there was a rule that no new university could be set up without the approval of central council, but this was given to UGC after that. And now we will see what are the recent initiatives of UGC. UGC in improving the quality and standard of higher education. This was the main motto of the UGC. So, what were the initiative? The UGC taken the initiative like it improves the quality and standard of teaching and research through programs for setting up centers for advanced study and research, improvement of college, strengthening research and infrastructure, providing grants, periodic review and renewal of curricular content or course, special scheme for introduction of emerging area of education and training, establishment of common facilities for research networking of resources for information and documentation, induction of electronic media in higher education, provision of scholarship and fellowship to students, launching of special program for participation of women, disadvantaged group, weaker section group in higher education. So these were the initiatives of UGC to improve the standard of higher education in the country. Then at that time, after its establishment, came the ninth plan period, which was from ninth 5-year plan. That was 97, started from 97 to 2002. And at that time, the general development assistance to individual university was provided. So university was given importance after that, or in the ninth plan period, you can say. So in 1997 to 2002, the general development assistance was given. The universities and colleges can utilize this fund given to them, assistance given to them for consolidation of existing infrastructure, for modernization, and for extension and outreach activity to meet the changing needs and challenges of higher education. The UGC has been implementing the program of career orientation to education and vocationalization of education since 1994 to 95 it were giving, but in the ninth plan period it was more emphasized and more assistance was given for the betterment or for the improvement of higher education. Then next body which was controlling in the higher education system, or you can say the technical education system, it was set up in AICT was set up in 1948 as an advisory body to assist the central government and planning and development of technical education at the post secondary level. Education in engineering and technology, architecture, management, and pharmacy is within the purview of the AICTE. So in 1988, the AICTE was constituted as a statutory body under the Act of Parliament. The major function of AICTE was to plan and coordinate the development of technical education in the country. In the performance of its function, the AICTE works in close coordination with UGC as far as technical education programs offered by the universities and concerned institutions. So the function or of the AICTE was mainly the coordination, support, development of technical education, management education, and polytechnics. All these were done by the AICTE. So the major programs which were undertaken by AICTE are the review and renewal of the curriculum for the education and training of engineers and technicians. But here a question come to mind that why this thing was of importance at that time, because as we are telling about the post independent India, the development of higher education in post independent India, so at that time we are in a need of these technical persons for development of the nation. That's why these bodies were established and they were doing their job accordingly. So the AICT was reviewing and renewing the curriculum for education and training of engineers and technicians, modernization of laboratories and workshops, removal of obsolescence, establishment of the community polytechnics, which were very older, they were um, uh, worked out at that time, and new ones were suggested and developed also. So these were the work of the AICT. And again, at that time also, so funding was done by the UGC, funding was done by the central government. And after that, they also developed the technical education. In the last 2 decades, there was a concept, emergence of a concept, which was self-financing institution in private sector, which do not depend on government grant but recover their cost from the student in the form of capitation fee. The next body was the National Council for Teacher Education (NCT). The National Council for Teacher Education was set up in 1973 by a government resolution as a national expert body to advise central and state government on all matters pertaining to teacher education. The council was made a statutory body by the Act of Parliament. By the Act of Parliament, all these bodies were converted into statutory body. So, what was the primary function of NCT? The primary function of NCT was to ensure planned and coordinated development of teacher education in the country and determination and maintenance of its standards. That was the primary function of NCT. So, for the performance of this function, the council decided some norms for specified categories of courses for granting recognition to teacher training program offered by various institutions including universities and colleges. The next institution is your Indian Council of Agricultural Research ICAR. The Indian Council of Agricultural Research or ICAR was established through a government resolution for promotion of agricultural education and research in the country. The council functions under the supervision of Ministry of Agriculture, and under this council a number of research institutions and agricultural universities have been set up in the country, and ICAR provides funds to these institutions for their development. Then next come a revolutionary idea, you may call this is your open university system. The country has also developed an open university system, and in the name of the Indira Gandhi National Open University, set up in 1985, and it has a nationwide jurisdiction in the field of distance education. The Distance Education Council has been established is a statutory authority under the IGNO Act, which provides development funds placed at its disposal by the central government. The Open University Network has established common pool of programs consisting of contribution from different open universities, which can be shared by any open university through the process of adoption, adaptation, and transmission. IGNO has received international attention and recognition, and the Commonwealth of Learning has recently conferred the status of excellence in distance education on the IGNO. So this is obviously a revolutionary idea, which in NEP 2020 also it was been emphasized that through Open University only the people of India can achieve excellence. Then these were the arrangements in center. Then there are some arrangements in states also. So MHRD is one of them. At the central level, a new concept that human resource development was projected in 1985, and a ministry with that nomenclature was set up. Human Resource Ministry of Human Resource Development. In addition to education, the Ministry of Human Resource Development (HRD) looks after the welfare of women and children and also sports. Education is not a ministry as of the middle 1990. It is a department of Ministry of HRD. Under NEP 2020, the name of MHRD is now changed to Ministry of Education. Uh, Although it was a part of Ministry of Education at that time, the Ministry of Education was created on September 26, 1985 through the 174th Amendment to the Government of India 1961. Currently, MOE, Ministry of Education, works through two departments. One is your Department of School Education and Literacy, another is your Department of Higher Education. Now, with what objectives MOE is functioning, the main objective of ministry would be formulating the national policy on education and to ensure that it is implemented in letter and spirit, and plan development including expanding access and improving quality of the educational institutions throughout the country, including in the regions where people do not have easy access to education, paying special attention to disadvantaged groups like poor, females, and minorities. It will provide financial help in the form of scholarships, loan, subsidy to deserving students from deprived section of the society, and encouraging international cooperation in the field of education, including working closely with UNESCO and foreign government as well as universities to enhance the educational opportunities in the country. So this is the objective of Ministry of Education, and accordingly after NEP 2020, when Ministry of Education is there in existence, so the works it has been doing, it has been listed in the site of Ministry of Education. You can see this. And what are the policy initiatives? What are the policy initiatives it has taken? Building upon the existing capacities and recognizing the immense contribution to the nation building that the large network of educational institutions has made in the post independent India, the country has embarked upon a second phase of expansion and establishment of centers of excellence in higher education. It is envisioned that strengthening the two ends of the spectrum, namely elementary education and higher education or technical education, would help in meeting the objectives of expansion, inclusion, and excellence in education. This was the aim or target of the policy. So, to meet the need of that three objective: expansion, inclusion, and excellence in education, both in higher elementary and higher education. So, Ministry of Education is working now. The Central Advisory Board of Education (CAB) is the highest advisory body to advise the central and state government in the field of education. This is working under Ministry of Education. So recent years have seen certain important committees and commissions deliberate on education. The National Knowledge Commission 2006. The National Knowledge Commission 2006 report on higher education supports a strong reform agenda through public investment. Recently, the report of the Committee on Renovation and Rejuvenation of Higher Education, that is the ESPAL committee, has recommended in protecting the intellectual autonomy of educational institutions and the creation of an all encompassing National Commission for Higher Education and Research (NCHER) to replace or subsume the existing regulatory bodies. The report talks about the concept of a university as a place where research and teaching become two important pillars of creation of knowledge. And this is reflected in your NEP 2020 also. Teaching and research. Without research, teaching is not beneficial, not fruitful. That's why both teaching and research has been given importance, and this has been considered as the two important pillars of creation of knowledge, and they should go together. So it should provide practical training to the people that should be based on new knowledge and in response to social and personal needs. And most important thing is that universities should allow for the diverse growth of knowledge and should not lead to fragmentation of knowledge. And it is therefore recommended that normally no single discipline Normally, no single discipline or specialized university should be created. It has been completely denied in the policy. There is also an idea that undergraduate programs should be restructured to enable students to have opportunities to access all curricular areas with fair degree of mobility, and this is reflected in your NEP 2020 that the multidisciplinary institution will be in existence, not the special university or special institution will be in existence. The government has already initiated the steps in the direction of implementing some of the recommendations. Then we'll understand what we have discussed, plan and non-plan grants. Now let us look into the what is plan grant and what is non-plan grant. So budgeting in India distinguishes two sets of activities, one as non-plan or non-developmental or maintenance budget, and the other is the plan or development budget. In actual practice, the difference is more procedural than real, although conceptually the plan budget provides growth, diversification, and innovation. If you want to grow in infrastructure wise or in the other aspect of the university, then you will be provided the plan budget, and the non-plan takes care of sustenance or maintenance of the ongoing system. So all activities of recurring nature taken up during plan period that are classified as non-plan or maintenance activity after the plan is over. So when a plan or project came into existence, at that time plan grant or plan budget is given for the development of the project. But once the project is completed, at that time no plan grant or budget is provided. Rather, it is converted into the non-plan budget for the maintenance of the project. So thus non-plan or maintenance budget grows in size after completion of every plan. The commitment is transferred to non-plan part of the budget. Then two other important words are there that plays an important role in the higher education system. That's why it has been noted down here: the amendments and the judicial review and higher education. So amendment, out of this amendment, we are with the higher education institutions are concerned with the 42nd amendment. Why it is important? Now, after the imposition of emergency in 1975, the constitution was amended in a number of respects, and this was done in 1976 through the 42nd amendment. And one of its provision was to make education a concurrent subject. That's why it is important. 42nd amendment. Higher education in any case was partly central because of the provision of coordination and standard, but now the entire field of education from primary to higher education became a concurrent subject on the basis of this 42nd amendment. And another term there is this is review, judicial review and higher education. So with regard to higher education, a number of judgments have been given by the courts, but the most important of them was given in 1963 in respect of the decision of Gujarat University to make Gujarati the sole medium of instruction and examination. And this decision was challenged by a student. So, what the Supreme Court did, the Supreme Court laid down that since the medium of instruction had a direct bearing on academic standards, this decision of Gujarat University could hurt that objective. Hence, the decision of Gujarat University was declared ultra vires and it was discarded or it was not implemented at that time, but it is also a matter of debate when NEP 2020 came into existence whether mother tongue will serve the function or not. Then another important body of UGC that is there, that is your NAC. You might have heard the term NAC, National Accreditation and Assessment Council, NAC. And India has one of the largest and diverse education system in the world. Privatization, widespread expansion, increased autonomy, and introduction of programs in a new and emerging area have improved access to higher education. There is no doubt, but at the same time, it has also led to widespread
Hello, ma'am.
problem
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, your voice is jarring. Okay.
on the quality and relevance of the higher education. So, to address these concerns, the National Policy on Education 1986 and the Program of Action 1992 spelled out strategic plans for the policies, advocated the establishment of an independent national accreditation agency. And that accreditation agency,
Sorry, ma'am. Your voice is not clearly audible.
hello, excuse me. Um, Somebody is saying something. Is somebody saying something?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, your voice,
Okay. Yes, yes.
it was just cracking. And the screen is
What tracking? My network is showing. Yes, my network is showing full network. Then what to
not.
do? Okay, please kindly check your network. Now is
Not
it clear?
also visible.
Now is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay, then fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what we are discussing, that is the NAC, National Accreditation and Assessment Council, and after the NEP 86 and Program of Action of 1992, the strategic plan for the policies advocated the establishment of an independent national accrediting agency. Although there was UGC, but it was a part. It is independent. It will independently evaluate or accreditate and assess the institutions. And consequently, the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, that is NAC, it was established in 1994 as an autonomous institution of the University Grant Commission with its headquarters in Bengaluru. And the mandate of NAC, as reflected in its vision statement, is in making quality assurance an integral part of the functioning of higher education institutions. So it was there in existence starting from the 1994, but now in 2020 onwards we are hearing this term most frequently in every institutions that NAC is coming to our institution. So before that, what was the status, we need to think. So now everybody is working in the institution so vigorously that NAC is coming to our institution to accreditate us or to assess us. That's why everybody in the country is now conscious about the NAC. The NAC function through its General Council and Executive Committee comprising of educational administrators, there are policymakers and senior academicians from a cross-section of Indian higher education system. The chairperson of the UGC is the president of General Council of NAC, and the chairperson of Executive Committee is an eminent academician nominated by the president of General Council. The director is the academic and administrative head of NAC and is the member secretary of both the General Council and Executive Committee. And NAC is also advised by the advisory and consultative committees constituted from time to time. Then next we will proceed to the policy. So this is all about the different bodies and what was the education system, what were the provisions and how different bodies are functioning in higher education. So this is all about this. Next we will proceed to the policy perspectives in higher education. So as we know that there are different policies which were developed in post-independent India from time to time. So we'll discuss one by one. Uh, so the first policy, which was the Radhakrishnan Commission, or you can say University Education Commission, after independence, the process of reforming when started in India, at that time, first of all, a commission was framed in India that was named as the University Education Commission in 1948. And the main objective of that commission was to suggest measures for improvement of the system that may be necessary to suit present and future requirement of the country. That was their main aim, main purpose of the University Education Commission, which was set up in 1948. And the program of educational development during the first 3 5-year plan were all based on the recommendation of University Education Commission. Though the commission was specifically looking into various facets of higher education, it also examined some aspect of school education, particularly those having bearing on development of higher education. So this main focus was higher education. And the University Education Commission also observed that a large majority of students admitted to universities are ill equipped to take advantage of the university education. And that's why they suggested radical reform in secondary education. Though the aim was to reframe the higher education, but it has a bearing, the secondary education has a bearing on a higher education. That's why it has also suggested reform for secondary education. So a separate commission for restructuring secondary education was set up in 1952. And in the study conducted by the University Education Commission, it was found that the number of actual working days in a year in most universities and colleges are insufficient. And it was also found that in case of certain universities, the number of actual working days was as low as 120. So university, after examining all these problems, all these situation of the country, the University Education Commission recommended the things like the first is the aim of education. What it told about the aim of education, the aim of education should be to awaken the innate ability to live and to train citizens for democracy and self development, to acquaint individuals with their cultural heritage, and to impart them professional and vocational training. So, this aim we can see, the aim of education means the innate ability to awaken the innate ability and self development and also professional development to grow India. So, this aim was decided or recommended by the University Education Commission. The Commission also emphasized the study of agriculture in an agrarian economy like India. So it was contextual. At that time, we need that type of education. So this suggested the study of agriculture should be enhanced, and it also suggested that special attention to be paid to the development of higher education in rural areas. It also suggested that on the basis of critical studies about the nature and type of manpower requirement, the scientific and technical base of educational system should be strengthened so that India can grow. This was the aim of or recommendation of the University Education Commission, and the Commission also emphasized the role of postgraduate research and postgraduate research and training for the advancement of the country. And it suggested that PhD scholars should emphasize both on the breadth and width of knowledge. That means they will work for the growth of the knowledge as well as they will look to the application field also. They should not have narrow specialization. And another important thing was there, overcrowding at universities and colleges should be avoided, and number of working days should be increased to a minimum of 180 exclusive of the examination days. That's why you also have marked previously there were a less number of seats in the university because quantity will be low and quality will be high. That was the main aim of the at that time. So realizing the importance of the medium of instruction, the commission also recommended that English as a medium of instruction in higher education, and it should be replaced as early as possible with the Indian languages. So, a university degree should not be required for government administrative services. Special state examination for recruitment to various state services should be organized. Realizing the deficiencies in the examination system and magnitude of wastage, the Commission recommended a thorough study of scientific method of educational testing and appraisal. And it also suggested a 12-year of study at school or intermediate college should be a standard for admission into university courses. So it was not compulsory for all, but it was looking for the quality also at that time. So after that, after few years, uh, there was another commission, that is year 64-66 commission, which was very famous among the educationists. So it was found that when there was enrollment in higher education, a massive expansion of higher education and recorded the highest growth rate in the 50s and 60s. At that time, it was found that the enrollment has increased. So they also has a aim to further improve the country's education system. That's why Government of India appointed the Education Commission under the chairmanship of Dr. Professor D.S. Kothari in 1900. 64. The main function of the commission was to advise the government on the national pattern of education and to suggest general principles and policies for development of education at all stages and in all aspects. That was for higher education, it is for all stages. So the setting up of education commission was significant. Why it was significant? For the two reasons mainly we can see. For the first time in independent India, the role of education in the context of national development was examined. Now it is the time of examination how far we have developed till now. And second one is the is such the education commission was only concerned with identification of changes needed in a particular sector of education, but for the system as a whole. That was for higher education, but now for the system as a whole it was going to look for the changes. So that's why from these 2 points, this is very important. And the recommendation of the education commission formed the basis of national policy on education announced in 1968, and it provided the framework for educational development during the fourth and subsequent 5-year plan. So the program of educational reconstruction proposed by the education commission, broadly if we will divide it, then it falls into three categories. One is a transformation of education system so as to relate it to life, needs and aspiration of the nation. Second one is the qualitative improvement of education, and third one is the expansion of education. So with these three broad aims, the education commission recommended its recommendations. So what the qualitative improvement of education, and it also wanted to achieve the standard, and then expansion of the education system. So this education commission felt that the affiliation system in trying to enforce some program and the rules in all college was holding back desirable changes even from those colleges which had will and to competence to undertake the much needed reform. So the fundamental principle for the provision of facilities at different stages and sectors of education as suggested are like this: your provision of effective and compulsory general education to all children, higher secondary and university education to those who are willing and qualified to receive the such education, not for all who are willing to enter into it, they will go for the higher secondary and university education consistent with the demand for trained manpower and the need to maintain essential standards. So those who will enter the higher secondary and university education, they will act as a knowledge hub, knowledge personnel of the country. Emphasize the development of professional, technical and vocational education, and to prepare the skilled personnel needed for the development of agriculture, education and the industry, and to identify talent and to help it grow to the full potential. These were the fundamental principles of the policy 1964 and 66. Then the research for excellence in higher education was laid firstly to establish the Center of Advanced Studies as well as Department of Special Assistance within the university system, and second one was to some augmentation of research funding to university as compared to national laboratories. So if we want excellence, the policy suggested these two things. The 17th 70 in the 70s, that was the period of consolidation of higher education in India. The growth rate of enrollment fell to about 4% per annum. although it was due to, perhaps they thought that it was due to switching over to 10 plus 2 plus 3 pattern of schooling, partly responsible for this. Like this. Okay, then we will proceed to the national policy on education. First national policy, this was 1968. So when this education commission recommended these things, so on the basis of recommendation, a resolution of national policy on education was formally adopted by the parliament in 1968. So the principles of the national policy on education aimed to promote, the main aim was, with the main aims it was established, that is your national progress, a sense of common citizenship and culture, strengthen national integration. So this policy, 68 policy, laid considerable emphasis on the recognition of courses at the first degree level, and the different aspects of higher education that were highlighted in the policy are: the number of full-time students to be admitted to a college or university should be determined with reference to the laboratory, library, and other facilities and strength of staff. Otherwise, they will not get admitted. Since the demand for higher education will be much larger than the provision that can be made for it or is needed on the basis of manpower requirement, a system of selective admission will have to be adopted. At that time, there was a selective admission, we all know this, so this is due to that policy. Then, considerable care is needed in establishing new universities. See the present situation and the then situation in 68. So this should be started only after the adequate provision of funds and due care has been taken to ensure proper standard. Otherwise, no university will be established. Special attention should be given to organization of postgraduate courses and for the improvement of standards of training and research at this level. Standard was very important. Center of advanced studies should be strengthened and small number of cluster of centers aimed at higher possible standard in research and training should be established. So there is a need to give increased support to research in universities, and the institution for research should function within a fold of universities or an intimate association with them. Facilities for part-time education and correspondence courses should be developed on a large scale at the university stage. Many reforms which were proposed by the Education Commission of 64-66 and National Education Policy 1968 were included as an integral part of fourth five-year plan and were carried further in the subsequent plan also. And the postgraduate and research sector were given high priority. As a result, a number of centers for advanced studies in different disciplines were set up in the universities. And what you are listening now, the Advanced Indian Council of Social Science Research, ICSSR, was also set up to promote research in social sciences. Specialized institutions of research were established. Extension and training were also set up in many parts of the country. But some problems also arise at that time. These problems were admission according to infrastructure and capacity has not been possible. Good institutions have a bloated a lot. Universities are being rather freely set up without ensuring adequate financial support. So due to this problem, to patch up the problem, these things also happened. Without adequate financial support, they established the universities, and postgraduate education and research have received some augmented support. That means without support, they so that we have the support and established all those things. Institution for research have all been up outside the university, and interaction with the university is quite inadequate. So after that, due to these problems, then what were the policy framework on development of higher education? When the 1968 policy proposed certain reform in higher education, and also there were problems in implementing the higher education, what happened there? There happened a process, slow process. Why the process became slow? Due to resistance and gap between the system and the implementation step. So it became a slow process. That's why the problem of raising standards in higher education defied all solutions that were tried, and these and many more critical problems also arise. The University Grant Commission prepared a policy framework for development of higher education. So, for this reason, the UGC, what the UGC did, the UGC survey made a survey and identified the issues what were there in the system. So, what were the issues identified? The issues were the role of university system in national development, guidelines for restricting access to higher education, measure for improvement of standards. There was restructuring of courses, postgraduate and research priorities, then diversification of courses, decentralization of control, autonomous college, academic freedom, medium of instruction. All these were identified as problems by the UGC, and to work on it again after some years, then National Commission on Teachers Higher Education 1984, the national policy which was in 1968, when it is reviewed and a progress has been tracked, and working out of new policy and program in education, it was suggested that in the policy that a comprehensive review of implementation should be undertaken every year. The first step in this direction was setting up of two teachers commission national teachers commission, which was the NTC, you can say in short term NTC. The NTC was set up under the chairmanship of Professor Rais Ahmad to look into the various facets of higher education, especially concerning the teaching profession. And this commission resolved to base its work on large scale interaction with the university and college teachers. And this commission had extensive discussion with teachers, received memoranda from teachers organization, and also carried out 6,000 university and carried out a survey taking 6,000 teachers from various universities and colleges and various other professions also. And the recommendation of the commission are significant in the sense that for the first time in the history of independent India, an attempt was made to the role of teachers in education. So the teacher education was given importance first time in 1984. So an in-depth analysis was also undertaken to know their status, their work ethos, their recruitment procedure, and other associated condition. So it was also an expectation at that time that the findings and recommendation of the commission would provide necessary input for the professionalization of higher education. Then again some challenges also arises uh,
Sorry, ma'am, your screen is not.
so the recommendation of the commission are significant in sense for the first time in the history. That is not the slide. Okay, now we will proceed to the policy, national policy on education 1986. So this is famous among all of us, that national policy on education 1986, when the findings of NCT came into existence and its critical assessment through challenge of education. Then 1986 policy was established, and the major objective of national policy on education 1986 is to prepare the Indian people and the nation to face the challenge of the 21st century. So 21st century is not the new word in the National Education Policy 2020. It was there in the 86 policy also. It has a aim or objective to prepare the Indian people for the facing the challenge of the 21st century. So taking note of the major technological changes and the critical role of human resources, both as a producer as well as user of technological innovations for raising the quality of life, it emphasized that investment in the overall development of human resource is non-negotiable. So it is in this context that a new ministry called Ministry of Human Resource Development was created by enlarging the scope of the then Ministry of Education. So that we have discussed already also. Then the National Policy on Education 1986 reiterates and suggests new initiative in areas of autonomy in universities and colleges and decentralized planning and management. The policy has also emphasized the role of open learning system in enlarging opportunity for higher education. Without open learning system, higher education cannot be promoted. So from that policy NEP 86, the open learning system was given much more importance, and it was in highest use as per the after COVID. You can see the platforms are open for all. Anybody can enter into that platform and pursue the higher education. So an important part of the policy statement is the emphasis on making the system work. If education is to meet the future challenge, then the phrase all teachers should teach and all students learn becomes highly important. That was not there previously. All teacher, that was said that the teachers will teach, students will learn or not, that was not important. But after 86, it told a phrase like all teachers should teach and all students should learn become highly important. And from that time, perhaps the sentence you might be seeing in your classroom, that the child is saying, if I am not receiving in the way what in which you are teaching, then please teach me in that way when I will receive all these things. So strategy in this regard consists of a better deal to teachers and greater accountability, then provision of improved student services and insistence, um, provision of better facilities to institutions, then creating a system of performance appraisal of institution according to standards and norms set up at the national level. Then achieving excellence in higher education involves the strengthening of infrastructure, modernization, and changes in the curricula and raising the quality and performance of teachers. All these reforms cannot be carried out without adequate provision of resources, and the goals and objectives of education can only be realized if sufficient investment in education or with the nature of dimension of the task is made. So our problem lies there in the provision of funding. If it will be taken into care, then only it is possible. Then after 1986 policy, after 6 years, there was a development of a program of action, or this is commonly termed as POA. The implementation of NEP 1986, when constrained by lack of consensus on some important measures at that time, the program of action, or POA 92, came into existence, and this program of action proposed some schemes like the establishment of state council SCHES, that is the full form is State Councils of Higher Education, as statutory bodies in all states during 8th 5-year plan to ensure proper planning and coordination of development of higher education. Then, pending the establishment of SCHE, that means your State Council of Higher Education, every state government should, in partnership with UGC, undertake a survey of existing facilities for higher education in the state and projected its need up to the year 2000. It was from the 1992. They will minimize the establishment cost of university and colleges by establishing them where infrastructural facilities are easily available. Usage of present institutions should be optimized by introducing extra shift. So this was the program of action to implement this and to maintain the quality of the higher education institution. Entrance test for admission to institution of higher education or higher learning will be encouraged and promoted by UGC and the state government. Then development of autonomous colleges and department through the implementation of recommendations of UGC, the establishment of a council for autonomous college in every state to review progress and resolve implementation difficulties, establishment of a separate mechanism to evaluate the performance of autonomous college, initiation of a review of autonomous department by UGC, and granting autonomy in a phased manner to departments receiving financial assistance from commission by 1997. So these were the program, some of the program of action. So in the program of action, there was also another suggestion like your teachers training in academic staff college should be done in a planned manner and course to be offered regularly so that teachers capacity building can occur, and these colleges should be monitored quantitatively and qualitatively. So a network of them should be set up to share and coordinate their activities in close collaboration with NIEPA, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. And efforts should be made to initiate training and orientation of teachers in engineering and technical subjects also. So after that, the concept of teacher training came into existence, and suitable distance of education programs should be designed for upgrading knowledge and skills of teachers in institution of higher learning. So then the effort by UGC and IGNO should be integrated. That was there in the program of action. So about research, it has also, the program of action also suggested something like what would be the research initiatives. The university industry linkage should be made on a priority basis with incentives made available for such linkages. That was the program of action of 92, but these all these actions were not undertaken till now. That's why it has been taken to 2020 policy 2020 also. So the industry linkage, it has also happened in 2020. That is a professor in practice who were posted in the university. Then increase in flow of research funds to universities, facilitated basic research in priority area through interinstitutional links between Indian universities, state universities, and research abroad. So all these things were encouraged. Constitution of a committee with representatives from Department of Science, CSIR, ICSSR, etc., to assess quality of research in our universities. And these organizations are also providing funds to the university to promote the quality of research. And again, new projects are also undertaken by government, like your seed project, to undertake or to facilitate the research in universities. New inter-university center for research should be established in humanities and social science. And again, also this program of action emphasized on promotion of science education in universities, equipping at least one science college in every district with a modern laboratory during 8th plan of UGC. Then a strategy of collaboration should be there. Efficiency of university should be enhanced through training of faculties, participating in research activity, establishment of autonomous department and units to decentralize administrative, academic, financial power, and setting up of effective grievance redressal machinery. Then about finance, it has suggested institution of higher learning should consider measure for raising internal resource and improving their
Sorry,
cost
ma'am.
efficiency.
Sorry, ma'am, for disturbing. Ma'am, please share the page you are teaching about.
Program of action, actually I have written the points only, I have not mentioned here. But resource recommendation and setting up monitoring and review mechanism, this is under this thing. There it is, resource, these are the points, major points I have written here. Okay, this is all about the program of action in 1992. Then after that, we can proceed to the 2020 National Policy Education 2020, and you can also compare the salient features you have there in a tabular form in your document also. You can compare, or otherwise you can prepare your document and also add there the National Policy on Education and National Policy on Education 2020 also suggested so many things and taken steps or recommended different things to bring a reformation in the higher education system. And again, you can find different points. Some of the recommendations are from 92 program of action 92, also from 86, also for 60, from 64 66. Those objectives which were fit for the present India and these were not fulfilled till now, that have been included in the 2020 also. So some of the major points of 2020 policy, what it has suggested in higher education part, that is the quality university and colleges, it wanted to recommended some aspects like your autonomous college, freedom to college, support to other institution, like this, how the institutional restructuring will be done. So all these aspects are included in higher education part of your NEP document 2020. How the quality university and colleges can be established, and it is not possible to discuss everything here in about NEP 2020. So this document suggested by 2040 how the higher education institution shall aim. the one of the aim I am telling you, the all the higher education institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institution, and they shall aim to have larger student enrollment, preferably in the thousands, for optimal use of infrastructure and resources. You can mark here the changes. What changes has been done starting from 48 and compare it with 2020. There was the emphasis on quality, and here we have now reached by 2040 we must have a larger student enrollment, preferably in thousands, if this policy is emphasizing. And why? We have a large number of infrastructure, and we have so much resources, so that we can accommodate so many students, thousands of students. And for the creation of vibrant multidisciplinary communities. Since this process will take time, all higher education institutions will firstly plan to become multidisciplinary by 2030, and then gradually increase student strength to the desired level. So this is the statement or recommendation from the NEP 2020. And also it has recommended that more higher education institutions shall be established and developed in underserved region to ensure full access, equity and inclusion. And by 2030, at least one large multidisciplinary higher education institution in or near every district. So you will see in near future a large multidisciplinary higher education institution in every district, because this is the recommendation of NEP 2020. Then single stream, where there is single stream, like you can say your B.Ed college or some other courses which are existing in a standalone mode or single stream, they will be phased out over time and will move towards becoming a vibrant multidisciplinary institution. They have to move into the multidisciplinary institution. And higher education, it has a aim to help the institution to move towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary education. More holistic development is needed. That's why it is proposed a holistic and multidisciplinary education would aim to develop all capacities of human being. That is the need of 21st century, you can say. That is your intellectual ability, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional and moral, in the integrated manner. That is the holistic development according to your national educational policy 2020. That's why you can also observe the current status, what is happening. And for more information, you can go to the website of Ministry of Education, and you can find how the Ministry of Education is taking steps and how action plans are prepared, and how our nation is moving forward to accommodate all these things. So now we are in a transition phase, and we are moving towards a new type of society, new type of education system, with every change, and with you can say the vibrant Indian knowledge society. And student support system, a great student support has been also developed, an optimal learning environment and student support system. For this, it is said that all program, course, curricula and pedagogy across subject, including those in class, online, ODL, open and distance learning mode, as well as student support, will aim to achieve global standard of quality. So it is suggesting take all and move towards the quality also. Then next is your development of motivated, energized and capable faculties. Faculties will also be trained. That has also been taken from 1986 policy, that the vision of autonomous institution empowered to drive excellence. HEI, higher education institution, will have clearly defined independent and transparent process and criteria for faculty recruitment and faculty training. Presence of outstanding and enthusiastic institutional leader need to be there in the institution to promote excellence in the higher education institutions. Then about equity and inclusion in higher education. So the policy suggested that different steps need to be taken by the government to promote inclusivity. Everybody will be included. So it has suggested about your SCDG, social and economically backward groups, and some steps are also being suggested there to improve them. Then teacher education, about teacher education also, after your JS Burma Commission in 2012 constituted by the Supreme Court, majority of standalone TEIs are there. Now they will be converted into multidisciplinary institution, and integrated B.Ed will be there. 2-year B.Ed will not be there perhaps according to the policy. And HIs who are offering teacher education program will ensure the availability of a range of experts in education related to discipline as well as specialized subject. So each higher education institution will have a network of government and private schools with them. So a network will be created so that there will be no hard boundary among the different discipline, and then the purpose of multidisciplinary will be fulfilled. Then vocational education, previously vocational education was not given importance, but in the 12th 5-year plan, estimated very small percentage of Indian workforce in the age group of 19 to 24. So it will be given emphasis in the policy according to policy 2020. Then quality academic research, it is also there in 1986, and also in the NEP 2020 it has told about the catalyzing quality academic research in all fields through a new national research foundation. And it has also created so many scope like your Department of Science and Technology DST, Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Biotechnology, Department of Indian Council of Agriculture Research ICAR. So all these will be associated and interlinked to promote the research, and they will act for the development of the nation. And then transforming the regulatory system of higher education. Then how the regulatory system will be developed for the higher education. And the different committee, different body, they will be established by the government to control as a apex body to the higher education. So this is your national education policy 2020. You can compare this with the other policy. Okay, now then, thank you for your patient listening. Now let's end the session.